American women test you long before they ever decide to trust you. Most men don't even realize it's happening. They think the shift in her tone, the delayed replies, or the sudden attitude change means she's losing interest. But it's usually not that. It's her checking your emotional stability, your confidence, and your ability to hold yourself together when something feels uncertain. And this is where a lot of men fail, not because they're weak, but because they react instantly. They get defensive, worried, or overly emotional. They start explaining too much, chasing harder, or trying to fix something that was never actually broken. When you don't understand what those subtle changes really mean, you end up responding in ways that kill attraction without even noticing it. These tests aren't meant to destroy you. They're a filter, a way for her to see whether you're consistent, disciplined, patient, and genuinely grounded. If you can't recognize these 8 tests for what they are, you'll lose attraction long before you ever get the chance to build something real. Think back to that moment when a woman suddenly pulled away. It didn't happen all at once. It started with slightly shorter replies, fewer emojis, less enthusiasm in her tone. The conversations that used to feel natural and easy started to feel forced. You sensed the shift even before she said anything. Her energy changed, her interest felt different, and that quiet distance hit you harder than you expected. You immediately went into your head. You replayed every message, every interaction, trying to figure out the exact moment things went wrong. You wondered if you said something off, if you didn't say enough, or if you missed some hidden signal. And like most men, you tried to fix it. You tried being sweeter, more available, more responsive. You tried to reassure her, hoping she'd come back to how she was before. But the truth you didn't see is this: there was nothing to fix. You weren't losing her. You were being tested, not in a manipulative or calculated way, but in a natural, instinctive way that women use to gauge a man's emotional strength. She wanted to see how you handled tension, uncertainty, or a shift in her behavior. She wanted to see if your confidence depended on her attention. She wanted to know if your self-respect would stay intact when things felt unstable. Most men fail this moment because insecurity kicks in. They overreact. They rush to repair something that isn't broken. And that reaction, more than anything, kills attraction faster than the distance ever did. Women test for emotional stability, inner strength, and consistency. And when a man abandons those qualities the second he feels uncomfortable, the connection starts to fall apart. That's where attraction collapses, long before either person realizes what actually happened. Here are the 8 Stoic behaviors high-value men never break, especially when a woman pulls back or tests his emotional stability. These aren't tricks. They're habits of men who know their worth and don't abandon themselves the moment tension appears. 1. They don't chase reassurance. When a woman becomes distant, most men panic. They send extra messages, ask what's wrong, or try to force closeness. A high-value man doesn't. Distance doesn't intimidate him because he's not dependent on her reactions to feel secure. He gives space without acting cold or desperate. He stays consistent, steady, and grounded, showing that emotional balance is his default, not something he fakes. 2. They hold their boundaries without anger. Weak men either explode or fold. Stoic men do neither. If something crosses a line, they acknowledge it calmly. No yelling, no insults, no long speeches. Their boundary is firm and delivered with clarity, not emotion. Women feel safest with men who can enforce limits without becoming aggressive or needy. Anger shows instability. Quiet certainty shows leadership. 3. They let silence communicate strength. A high-value man doesn't fight for validation or argue for respect. When something feels off, he doesn't jump into defensive debates or emotional back and forth. Silence is often the clearest message he can send. It shows he's not shaken, not pressured, and not afraid to allow someone to reflect on their own behavior. Many women naturally correct themselves when a man responds with calm composure instead of emotional chaos. 4. They don't over-explain themselves. A Stoic man communicates directly. He says what he means once, clearly and respectfully. He doesn't repeat himself just to be understood or liked. Over-explaining comes from insecurity, from wanting approval. A man who values himself knows his words carry weight without a second performance. He leaves room for the other person to process. 5. They stay emotionally unshakable. Mood swings, sarcasm, delayed replies, passive comments, these things don't throw him off center. He doesn't take everything personally or react instantly. He pauses, thinks, and chooses a response that aligns with who he is, not with what the moment triggers in him. Emotional steadiness creates deep trust because it shows he isn't controlled by external pressure. 6. They do not break their routine for her. High-value men stay disciplined. They keep their schedule, their priorities, their workouts, their work, their commitments. They don't drop everything and chase affection because that signals a lack of self-respect. A woman can't be attracted to a man who abandons his own life. His routine shows he has structure and purpose, which creates long-term respect. 7. They don't try to fix her emotions. A stoic man doesn't absorb her stress or take responsibility for her emotional waves. He listens without trying to solve everything. He supports without losing himself. Women don't want a man who collapses under emotional pressure. They want someone who can stay grounded while they navigate their own feelings. 8. They never compromise their values. This is the foundation. If a man lets attraction override his principles, he instantly loses respect. A woman needs to see that his values are real, consistent in good moments and hard moments. He stands where he stands. He's flexible with preferences but firm in character. She can only trust a man who trusts his own moral compass. Reflection: which of these 8 behaviors challenges you the most right now? Here's how you rise into the version of yourself that women naturally respect. Not because you're pretending to be confident, but because you become a man who moves with intention and control. It starts with pausing before you react. Most men respond instantly out of fear, insecurity, or impulse. A woman pulls back slightly, and they panic, overthink, or overshare. But when you take a breath and let the moment settle, you show emotional maturity. You show that you're not controlled by external pressure. That pause is the difference between reacting like a boy and responding like a man. You slow your tone, not to sound dramatic or mysterious, but because you aren't rushing to prove anything. You speak from a place of clarity instead of urgency. When your tone is calm and measured, you naturally project authority. People listen more. People respect you more. And a woman can actually relax around a man who communicates with emotional stability rather than tension. You protect your routine like something important. When a woman enters your life, it's easy to drop your schedule, your workouts, your goals, and your boundaries. But the moment you abandon your structure, you lose the identity that made you attractive in the first place. High-value men understand that routine is the backbone of discipline. Keeping your commitments, especially to yourself, shows that you live with purpose, not for approval. You respond with clarity, not emotion. It doesn't mean you're cold or distant. It means you think before you speak. You choose the words that reflect who you are, not what the moment tries to pull out of you. Emotional control isn't about shutting down feelings. It's about not letting those feelings control your behavior. That ability separates stable men from impulsive men. And most importantly, you guard your inner world like something sacred. Not everyone gets access to your fears, dreams, insecurities, or private thoughts. You share selectively. You protect your peace. You don't let moods, pressure, or people with unstable behavior shake the foundation you've built. When you treat your inner world with respect, the world around you eventually mirrors that respect back to you. Because when you grow into this kind of man, calm, rooted, disciplined, unshakable, everything changes in your relationships. You stop chasing validation because you no longer need external approval to feel whole. You stop failing emotional tests because you finally understand that composure is more powerful than overreaction. You stop bending and shrinking yourself for affection because you trust your own worth and direction. You become the kind of man a woman feels safe opening up to. Safe trusting. Safe respecting. Safe surrendering her feminine energy to because she sees strength, not instability. And more important than what any woman sees, you become the kind of man you feel proud to be. A man who wakes up with purpose. A man who handles conflict with maturity. A man who doesn't run from pressure. A man who is consistent, grounded, and in control of himself. If you're ready to build this mindset, if you're ready to develop emotional control, calm confidence, and a stoic presence that influences every part of your life, then this is where you start. Subscribe. Every video here is created to make you stronger mentally, clearer emotionally, and more respected in how you show up as a man. These lessons aren't theoretical. They're practical, direct, and based on the behaviors that truly change your presence. This is your path to becoming the most grounded version of yourself. Not a version built to impress others, but a version built to withstand anything. Welcome to your new mindset,